Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a popular opinion about treating your kids. We're going to discuss this a little bit and my thoughts on it because it's kind of been bothering me a little bit. So if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. All right, so this popular opinion of treating your kids has been bothering me for a little while. And I've been debating, I have a love-hate relationship with putting this video out. It'll be a little bit more of just a chatty video, so maybe just listen to it like you would a podcast or something. But last year around Easter time, someone had commented on my Easter post and they were on my video or whatever and were kind of upset that I wasn't treating my kids more. Give them a treat, do all these things for them. And she just said, oh, treat your kids. And that statement just really bothers me. And I've thought about it for a really long time. And obviously, I'm making a video finally, but it's been something that's really been on my mind. And so here we are with this. And it, again, makes me a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious, a little bit mad, a little bit frustrated. I have all the feelings here. So I wrote down some different points I want to cover. I think there's about 6, we'll try to make it as cohesive as possible, but 6 things that I kind of want to go over on this topic because I have an unpopular opinion about this topic where treating your kids actually leads to more harm than good. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, before we get into the points, the first thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if this is a global issue or a US issue. I'm not really sure if it's just because we have so much in the United States that we just think our kids should have all the things. They should have all the experiences. They should have the big birthday parties. They should have just everything basically that they want, or maybe that you wanted as a child and didn't get. You give to them basically with no responsibility, okay? It's we act like they don't get enough stuff already, that they already aren't privileged, and we're teaching them that they should just overindulge. And so I don't know if this, again, is a global issue. It probably might be present in some other countries. I imagine it isn't in a lot. But so if you're from those other places, let us know, because I know that there are a few people from some different countries on here that have commented before. So let me know your thoughts and let everyone else know your thoughts. So that's kind of what I'm going to be addressing it from, and having these points of things that I think are better options than just giving our kids all the things that they ask for, that we think that they need to be happy. Okay, the first point I want to talk about is experiences with our kids. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about a different type of experience. So hopefully we don't get confused here. But this first one, I actually have a book recommendation for you on it as well. So I reviewed this book last year, I believe, The Vanishing American Adult. And so this is where I'm pulling a little bit of the thoughts that I had about this idea from Ben Sass. I really like this book. I did mention in that review, it is a little bit harder for me to read. It's a little bit more statistical, I guess. He's a politician. It is my husband's book. And he really, it's easy for him to read because he's an economist. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily hard to read. It just wasn't the type of style that I normally read. So it was a little bit harder for me to understand. But I really love the points that he makes. So if this is something that you are also passionate about or thinking about or want to try to do better in your home, I would recommend reading this book. He goes through so many different points, one of them being this idea of experiences and kind of travel. And I don't know about where you live, but some of the places, where I live right here, a lot of people go on vacations. And sometimes it's a little bit hard. My kids are like, why do they go on vacations? I'm like, I don't know, I guess they have money to go on vacations. But he talks about vacations in and of themselves aren't bad, but if that's all you're doing all the time, that's only showing your kids that part of the world, that life is basically about just going and having a good time whenever you have a break, or even when you don't have a break, right? Pull them out of school, take them on vacation. And it's important to help them understand lifestyles outside of their own. So when you go on a trip, he refers it more as going on a trip or having an experience or traveling, not a vacation. Do things like that. So go to places that maybe you don't think of when you think of a vacation, right? You're not going there just to have tons of fun, like Mickey Mouse ears at Disneyland or something, or just sitting by the ocean. And one of these things that came up in my head is that my husband and my oldest son recently went to China. My husband was teaching there. That they have a program through the university he teaches at here in America that works with their university in China. And so at the end of each semester, they send some of the economics professors and they do some like in-person classes and things like that. So they decided to go, and he took my oldest son. And this would be defined as an experience. They got to see a few cool things. My oldest son ended up sick for a while, like he got a really nasty cold while he was there. And so it made it a little bit hard. And they didn't get to see all they wanted. It was in the winter time, so it was a little bit colder some of the time. You know, there's a lot of things that were good, and there was a lot of things that were not so good. And I think that's really what it's about, is learning to adapt in those different situations, see a different type of culture, a different type of people, different type of food, and not just all the things you're normally used to. Which if you go someplace and just stay at a resort basically the whole time, or go see the touristy sites, that is what you're going to see. Like, they're painting a picture of what you want to see. You're not actually being exposed really to those people, those cultures, and their way of life. And that's really important for helping kids learn that their life is about more things than just them. Okay, when you just always are taking them on these basically personalized vacations, that's all they ever see, and they think the world is about them and that they can do whatever they want, and they get older and they just go on trips whenever they want and they don't have to be responsible. So a solution that I have thought of for if you want to do some vacations as well, but have them be a little bit more meaningful, and I've seen some families do this, is to have your kids raise some money for the trip. And so if they want any souvenirs or extra types of food that's, you know, just not the normal dinner or something, then they're paying for it. And it's, you know, they have ownership over what they're doing, instead of just going and like, oh mom, I want this. And you're like, okay. And I want this souvenir, I want this souvenir, and I want this food, and I want this ice cream. And you just give them whatever they want. You know, it's also teaching them money management skills and teaching them that money actually means something, and it isn't something you can just go and throw away. So I think with vacations especially, but also with experiences, having them participate in it somehow, right? You could do fundraisers beforehand. You could have them save their allowance. Maybe they're old enough to have like a teenage job or something, I don't know. Then they can save money from that. Okay, have them participate in it in some way so that they're learning to be responsible and you're not just treating your kids. The second point I wanted to make comes from this quote, "But my kids love it." I hate that quote. Okay. I don't like it at all. I also, every time someone says that, I always want to be like, but do they though? And a lot of parents would say yes. Yes, they love it. And I think so much of that is dictated by you as a parent. Okay, maybe if they've grown up their whole lives hearing that you love something, like, oh, I love basketball, it's the best sport ever, I like to play this position, we're gonna play all the time, then okay, that's what they're gonna think, okay? But that doesn't mean they actually like it. And especially nowadays, everything is so competitive, so young, that it's like just in their face constantly. Their friends are doing it. The friends' parents are really into it. Everybody is super into it, but do your kids really like it? What are they gonna do with it? You know, do they want to play long-term? All these different things they're not gonna be able to think about because they're a child. They just don't understand. They don't understand physically how it's gonna affect them. None of those things even cross their mind. Okay, so when you say, but they love it, I want you to also think in your head, but do they? And just asking them straight out, like, do you like this? I feel like most kids are gonna say, oh yeah, I like it, you know, just because that's what you're supposed to say. But if you dug a little deeper, maybe you would find some different things they don't like, or maybe if they're in a lot of sports or art things or music things, you could go through the list and ask them, like, if you could only do 2 of these things or whatever, which ones would you take off the list? Because then you could see a little bit more where their value lies. And it might be different than yours, which might be hard. If it's different than yours, you're like, but I really like this one. You might have to give it up, okay? You might just have to. As a parent, you might have to give it up and just let it go. But I just really want you to think about if they're doing stuff, again, you have this idea, I'm treating my kids, I'm letting them be involved in all these things and have all these experiences and try all this stuff. But is it the best thing for them? Do they really love it? Do you even love it? Do you want to spend all that money? Really ask yourself these questions and be honest with yourself when you answer them. Okay, the third point I wanted to make is about when people say, I'm having an experience with my children. And this is where I don't want you to get confused with the first experiences that are good and these ones which could potentially be bad. And most of the time when I hear people mentioning this, like parents or adults, it's when they're talking about watching their kids do something like a sport or an art activity or a drama, which is good, right? They're being supportive, but they're not actually having an experience with their child. They're just watching their child. Okay, that's a very, very different thing. And if that's all you're doing all the time, like they get home from school and you go to the next thing and you're just watching them, you're not actually ever really interacting. A lot of families hardly spend any time together. In reality, they hardly ever talk together. They don't have dinner together. And yet they think they're having great experiences together. And for me, I feel like there are so many good experiences that can be had at home. And where you're actually communicating with each other, where you're working together, right, with dinner or chores, taking care of the house. I know some people don't want to give their kids too many chores, or like, oh, it's fine if we just skip this week or this day or whatever, which sometimes it is. But because they're going to have this experience and it's going to be really good for them. We forget that some of the best experiences for them are at home, within the walls of our own home. There are so many good experiences that can be happening, and those are the things they're probably going to remember the most. Not like, oh yeah, my mom and dad, they came to all my games, they were supportive, but we never got to talk to them. We were never talking about in-depth things. I never had time because we were always on the go. And I think some kids really, really want to just slow down. They just don't know how, because their whole life has been scheduled for them and they're going 100 miles an hour all the time. And they just don't know what it's like to just take a break and to have these experiences at home. And so when they come home, they also just don't know how to do anything. They don't know how to clean up the home. They don't know how to eat. They don't know how to talk to you. They don't know how to interact. They look at a screen when they're not, in these experiences, they're looking at a screen. And so we need to make sure that we're creating these good experience environments instead of these like kidding ourselves. I feel like it's kidding ourselves. Like, I am giving them an experience. This is great, or going into debt to do something, right? Create good learning environments for them. Have them participate in them. Have them be invested in them. That is an experience that will actually help them throughout their life, instead of just in this moment right here. My fourth point kind of goes along with the last one, where I hear people talk about giving their kids no chores because they want them to have a normal childhood. And again, this idea of treating your kids, you want them to have all these things. And so you're like, they can't have all those things if they have these responsibilities at home. But in reality, you're not teaching them vital life skills. And so it's very important to create an environment at home where they understand they're working on a team. That's a life skill. They're gonna have a job one day. They're gonna work on a team. They're gonna have a family one day, hopefully, and work on a team. They need to know how to work together. And even if they do sports and things like that, they're on a team, right? They need to know how to function as a team. We give and take, we sacrifice. Okay, yes, I didn't make that mess, but I'm gonna help clean it up. And that's how it's gonna be in real life too. I don't make all the messes, but I'm gonna have to help clean them up. Sometimes I'm really not gonna wanna do this, but it needs to be done because we work together as a team. Okay, so those types of things teach them life skills. They're so, so important. And so I'm just like, what? Like, how do you even survive if your kids don't help you at your house? Like, you're probably super overwhelmed It is overwhelming sometimes to have kids help, I know, because they don't always do jobs as well as you would like them done, but they're still getting jobs done, okay? And they're learning those routines and things, which is important. And there are some times, so even today, I mentioned just in my last video, I think before this, that I'm a little controlling and OCD. It's hard for me to just be like, okay, you go do this. Well, we have general conference this weekend for our church, and we always make cinnamon rolls, and I had tons of other things I needed to get done. My daughter, who is almost 11, asked yesterday if she could help. And so I was like, yes. She wanted to make the cinnamon rolls. I already made the dough because it was like a sourdough dough. So I made it the night before and stuff. And so I didn't have as much to do in the morning, but it was like a sticky bun. And so she was able to mix the different parts, like the bottom layer, the middle layer, and the frosting. She got everything ready for me. So as I'm coming to the kitchen and just like trying to get all the things done before we watch this general conference, those things were already accomplished, okay, because she was helping out in our house. And I think those types of things are important, and some of them are going to be more fun than others. Some of them kids are going to want to do, and others, my kids for a long time love to clean the toilet. I don't know why. They're kind of weird. but they'll go through stages like that where there's certain things they just absolutely love doing, and then the next day they hate it. They don't want to do it. They fight you on it. But this teaches you all good skills of working together as a team. So make sure you're giving your kids chores to do, okay? Treating your kids is not eliminating chores, okay? That's doing so much more harm than good. My fifth thing I wanted to mention is about birthdays. I feel like I've talked about this a little bit before in one video. I don't even remember when it would have been, but this is something that we feel like we have to treat our kids in, okay? We have to give them bigger stuff. We have to give them better stuff. It has to be a bigger party. It has to be more toys and more money, and just the venue has to be bigger, okay? I don't know if that's how it is where you live, but that's sure as heck how it is where I live. And I just don't like doing birthday parties. I almost did one this year. I was actually going to do one, just a small one for my daughter who's 7, because she just loves friends so much, but then it just wasn't working out with scheduling and stuff. And so I just wasn't able to do it, and I just didn't really want to either. So I didn't, but it really, I don't know. I want my kids to go to birthday parties because then they can interact with friends. But I also hate the idea of presents because, first of all, I don't know what a kid needs. I don't want to just go spend my money on something that's just going to break or add more clutter to someone else's house, or be something they don't like. Like usually I'll ask the mom what they like, but I'm still just always, can I just give you a gift card? Go buy yourself some groceries or something. I don't know, and so I am always just like torn about it. And I don't get my kids tons of presents. They still will get presents for their birthday, but it's usually not a crazy amount. And even that, I feel like sometimes is too much, because I'm always like, where are we supposed to put all this stuff? Like I'll go in their rooms and there's just too much, like there's too much stuff. And again, they really don't have that much stuff compared to a lot of the kids that I know. And visually, clutter is so hard to function in. I think sometimes we don't realize it until we clear it away, until things are clean. And kids are more likely to play with toys. There are even studies about this. They're more likely to play with toys when they have less toys. Okay, when they have tons and tons of toys, guess what they do? They make a humongous mess. They don't play with any of them, okay? And maybe occasionally they do, but they just make a huge mess. So being more minimal is better, which I know is hard because everyone's like, oh, I need to bring a present to this. I need to bring a present to this. And they want to do what someone else did. And it's just very, very difficult to, they want to keep up with everybody else. And it's hard to, that FOMO is real. And so missing out is just very difficult for a lot of people. So I just encourage you to make sure things are meaningful. Really, the whole point of this video is to make sure there is meaning tied to what you're doing, because that is what's going to have the lasting effect on your kids and won't be as harmful as just treating them with everything because you think that they deserve it. The last point I wanted to make on this is that I feel like we're not very good at resting, at taking a break, at having kind of a meditation moment. It doesn't even have to be like a deep meditation moment, but just having a moment, just like sit on the grass, enjoy the sun. We're not good at that. We are not good at that. And so I feel like people fill their schedules? Because we're not good at resting, okay? And they think, again, like you're treating your kids. I'm treating them to this amazing life. They have all these things they get to do and all these experiences they get to have. But in reality, you're just running them ragged and you're running yourself ragged. And so we need to be better at resting and it's okay to have gaps in our schedule. I think we see that. We see a gap and we're like, we kind of have an anxiety attack or a panic attack and feel like it needs to be filled. Otherwise, we're failing as a parent, okay? If that spot is not filled, then man, my kid, or if they're not in the same thing as all my neighbors, then I am a failure. We need to get rid of that anxiety. First of all, that looking outside at what everyone else is doing. Focus on what's best for us. Again, attach meaning to things. Make sure that they are meaningful and take some time to rest. If I could only just like explain and give this feeling to you of how good it feels to rest, because I am a very like on the go, like not on the go outside of my house, but when I'm in my house, I like to be productive and getting things done in the most efficient way. But my favorite part of the day is when it is warm outside and we go sit in the sun. And I might read a book, but sometimes just sitting in the sun, like it's just so nice. Those moments just mean so much, and giving kids those moments where they can just dictate their own schedule, decide if they want to run around in the grass, if they want to roll down the hill, okay, if they want to crochet, whatever it is. Clay, my son really wanted to do clay today, but I told him he had to go outside and play, so he's doing clay outside where it's like 30 degrees. I'm very nice. So anyways, just take some time to rest. All right, I hope you enjoyed this unpopular opinion video where I think treating your kids actually does more harm than good. And if you enjoy this type of video, give me a thumbs up so I can know. I have a few other unpopular opinions. I can know to share more of these types of things. And comment down below maybe what your favorite part of this video was or what your thoughts are. Remember to keep things nice or I will delete them because that's just how I am. So make sure that you keep everything nice, but I'd still love to hear your feedback and your thoughts about this idea, especially of like treating your kids and what are some things that you've done to help them learn to be more responsible. So I will see you next time.